late to itskaygee and welcome to another video. I was sitting right over there doing my homework, and then I felt compelled to make a video about cuties, and I just couldn't focus on my homework, so now I'm making a video about cuties. But this isn't a movie review, this is more of a discussion video. I hope that's okay with you, because it's what you're getting. I just recently watched 2 reviews of cuties. I've watched several, but I just recently watched 2 that saw the movie in a positive light, and it kind of encompassed my ideas. I also saw some reviews earlier that saw the movie as very, very negative, which also kind of encompassed my ideas. But no one's quite hit the nail on the head in duplicating what I see in my brain, so I'm just going to make my own video. So, you guys know the Statue of David. If you don't know the Statue of David, just imagine any marble statue from Greek or Roman times. Okay, Statue of David. It's a guy, he's standing there, he's got like nice body, nice muscles, he's well constructed, he's naked, and he's just chilling, right? I've heard this commentary on the Statue of David that it's meant to be a duality between discomfort and amazement, which I don't know how accurate that is because of the time period in which the statue was carved, but if we think about it in modern times, right, that seems accurate. You see this statue, it's big, it's encapsulating, it's mesmerizing, you want to focus on it, it's so big, it's so nice, it's so well made, you're just like, how on earth did someone take a block of marble and turn it into that? It looks so great. It's a biblical story, so it might resonate with some people in that way. It's just captivating. But there's dick in your face. So you're, in one sense, really enjoying this beautiful piece of art and really mesmerized by it. But in another sense, the social construct is broken, this man is naked for apparently no reason, and you just have to deal with that if you want to absorb the media. I feel like Cuties is the Statue of David. Cuties is a movie that was not made by Netflix. It has been taken up by Netflix, but it is a French movie made by someone whose name I cannot pronounce, and she is a black Muslim French woman who created this film. It is her first feature film, and the screenplay won awards at the Sundance Academy Film Festival, so it's a critically acclaimed film. Furthermore, the film is perfectly legal. The film has been approved by French agencies for protecting children, and it's been on screens for over a year now, so it's, you know, the FBI has not knocked on her door yet. It's fine. The film is fine, at least in a French sense. So what then is the first part of the Statue of David is that you have to actually like it. You have to actually find some reason to look at it, some reason to not just see David Dick and turn away and forget that it ever existed and erase it from your memory bank. And I have that with this movie. I like it. I think. I like the film. I like the story. I like a coming-of-age film, especially a coming-of-age film about a black main character that doesn't involve a bunch of death and destruction and, well, there is trauma in the movie, but not trauma via death or assault or, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's nice to see a black character who can have a coming-of-age film without their dad dying and their brother getting shot by police. It's pleasant. I enjoyed that aspect of it. I also really like seeing a different culture. I am not Muslim and I don't really have much association with it, so seeing the way in which the religion runs Amy's family was very interesting for me. I like the obvious conflict of Amy, okay, spoilers, you don't care though, of Amy seeing these 2 different sides of what womanhood could be and trying to find where she fits in within it. I like the idea, the very realistic idea that I'm sure most of us can relate to just simply as words, of being a kid and seeing something that you don't like by someone who has authority over you, be it your parents, your teacher, your school, someone presenting to you something that you do not like, the rules at home, the dress code at school, whatever it is, and you rebel against it by doing the opposite of it. The opposite of it might not even be what you want to do, but you know you want to rebel, so you just rebel in the most obvious way. That is a very childlike mindset. I like the scenes in this movie. There is one scene where Ami is doing something she's not supposed to be doing in her mom's room. And so to avoid being caught, she's wearing a little skimpy shirt. So to avoid being caught in this crop top, she hides under the bed. And her mom walks in and calls up someone on the phone and tells them, my husband's taking in a second wife. It's so nice. They're decorating the house for her. I wish them well. I hope they can have a lot of kids. Yay! And then she hangs up and starts sobbing and like physically like beating herself up over it. And Ami is just under the bed, hearing all of this happen and taking it in. I really like that Ami, as far as I noticed, never speaks words to her mom, except for when she's trying to defend herself or when she's trying to get her mom to defend herself. I don't know if anyone else noticed that, and I don't know if I just made that up. Maybe that's not even a thing in the movie, but I love. My shirt is so white right now. Sorry about the lighting, but I love that. I love that when there is a scene where Ami's mom faints randomly, and her brother hops up and he's like, Mom, are you okay? What's going on? Are you okay? And Ami just continues eating. She literally does not care. She could not care less if her mom lives or dies in that moment. And, that's a bit of an exaggeration of the natural feelings, but I just love that Ami never talks to her. The only time that I hear Ami open her mouth and speak to her mother are when she is defending herself. Like I said, she buys her brother a toy and her mom is like, where did you get this? And Ami obviously doesn't have any money. She stole the money from her mom to get the toy. So she's like, someone gave it to me at the park. I don't know. That's one time when she speaks to her mom. Another time when she speaks to her mom is at the end, where she is asking her mom to not go to her dad's wedding, basically saying, Mom, stand up for yourself. Don't be complicit in this. Don't go to the wedding. Those are the only times past the main conflict with Ami and her mom of the under the bed scene that I recall Ami speaking to her mother. And she never talks to her dad in this movie. He's dead to her. I love that. I love that. And it's so subtle. You might not notice it. I haven't heard anyone else bring it up, which is what's leading me to believe maybe I made it up in my head. But if I didn't, I absolutely love the symbolism, I guess, of Ami's words. She doesn't speak much in this movie in general, but it's so interesting to me that the people who she chooses to use her words on at the times in which she chooses to speak, most of them are not around people who she doesn't respect, i.e. her mother. I have a love-hate relationship with what I believe to be the most raunchy scene of the film, although that is completely objective, as there are multiple scenes you could take offense to. It's one where the girls are dancing in a stairwell, and the camera is acting as if this is a camera for a, 23-year-old's music video and her song about sex with the 3 guys she's dating. And the camera is tracking their asses, giving zooms in on their faces, just showing their provocative dancing in slow motion when they're on this stairwell. And I like this scene because it accurately shows the discomfort. It makes you uncomfortable. And if that is the goal, which I believe it is, like the modern interpretation of the Statue of David, that you are supposed to like the beauty of it, of maybe the staging, the setup of the scene, the lighting, the film thus far, what this moment means to Ami. You are supposed to like the beauty of it, but seeing the dick in your face, seeing the 11-year-old ass in your face, makes you uncomfortable, and you have to deal with that dichotomy if you want to continue to absorb this media. I like that, but I hate that, and we will get there. We'll get there, but we're not there yet. I enjoy this film from a filmmaker's perspective. I really like the things that they did. There are not a lot of American films, especially lately, there are not a lot of American films that do these kinds of literary things, if you will, of having show don't tell moments, basically. Name me a box office American film, right, that succeeded, a film that did well from the box office from the last 5 years, that had any kind of symbolism, any intentional character decisions that related to the motive and themes of the movie. Find me a movie where you can have something similar to, this character never talks to her mother because she doesn't respect her, and the only time she does is when she's trying to defend herself or get her mother to defend herself. Find me where in Marvel is that? located. Where in Suicide Squad was that moment? I'll wait. I appreciate the idea of teaching kids more about sex ed. My own sexual education was very stunted in that when I was having sex ed in middle school, it wasn't sex ed, it was vagina ed. And furthermore, the class was split up between male and female. So I learned about like the vagina and the ovaries and stuff, and men learned about whatever they learned about. But I never learned about the men. And so I found growing up, there are lots of things that I just never knew. For example, in unfunny white people movies, there's this frequent joke of like a guy starts peeing and then someone comes up from behind and surprises them and then they're just peeing everywhere and it sprays all over and oh no. This was never funny to me because I was like, just stop peeing. Why wouldn't he just stop? What's the issue? And it was through having a boyfriend and being in proximity to him that both of us realized the differences with each other. He realized that I could stop peeing, and I realized that he couldn't stop. I feel like that's something we should have known about each other. Not only learning about male anatomy, but just sex ed in general. When I got to high school and was supposed to have sex ed, I got the whole STDs thing, and I got a little bit into potential contraception. But then my teacher was just like, I'm just not going to teach this. I don't feel like it. And my parents never had to talk with me. So I just had to figure everything out on my own, basically, which wasn't that hard, but there were some things that I was wrong about. And imagine living in a time or a situation where you don't have access to the internet or you don't know how incognito browsers work. And so you can't just look this up. Are you going to get a book? You're going to get a book? There's nothing about sex in your school library, so what are you going to do, really? Go on Amazon, I guess, but if you're a teenager, especially preteen, before you have money, you're not going to have a credit card to be able to buy things online. So are you taking your allowance to Barnes & Nobles to buy a book on how to sex? I am all for teaching kids about sex. I don't think teaching them makes them inherently more sexual, and I feel like I am a living interpretation of the potential to not be sexual as I watched my friends have sex, as I learned about sex on my own, as I saw sex all around me through media, through porn, through everything. I was never a very sexual person. I was just never interested in that. I believe that kids and teens are going to do whatever they want, so they may as well do what they want educated than uneducated, because there are situations of kids doing things they don't want to do, like dating guys 12 years older than them because they think it's cool and they don't actually understand the potential implications of that because no one bothered to teach them. If you were able to get that from this movie, then I'm happy this movie exists for you. But now let's get into my issues with the film. So, like I said, if you were able to get there, great. I just don't feel like a lot of people are able to get there. I found myself watching this movie wondering who it was for. If the target audience is young kids and you want to show them that being sexual is bad, why is this movie rated TVMA? What young kid is going to be able to watch that? Most parents wouldn't allow their kids to watch that. And even though kids like to watch movies rebelliously on their own, I don't think this is the one that they would go and pick up. And then if the movie is made for adults, why? Like I said, if so many people relate to this, find it relatable, and feel like, oh yeah, I did that when I was a kid, you're not really raising awareness because everybody already knows this. So what are we getting at here? If your goal was to get at how kids need to be taught about these kinds of things, and you can't just leave them in the dark about it, where is that expressed in the movie at all? I feel like a lot of reaching and a lot of grasping and a lot of personal relatability has to play into you coming to that conclusion. Because most of the people who I have seen come to that conclusion have discussed their own issues with their sexuality as a child, be it that they were sexual assault survivors or that they did some of the very explicit things that Amy did and felt like they could have benefited from more education. But without that relatability, without feeling like it was already an issue, I don't see how you would get there based off what's given to you in the movie. If the issue is to raise awareness to people who didn't know, why is it done in such a harsh way? When raising awareness about issues through our history, you don't jump into things head first because it turns off your audience, as Cuties clearly has with its audience. You kind of like tiptoe in, you put your feet in, you give people the idea, and you let them sit with that, and you progress through time. Take, for example, To Kill a Mockingbird. To Kill a Mockingbird is a racially charged book, basically about the injustice of the justice system against black people. There's a black man who's convicted of a crime that he obviously did not commit, but he is convicted anyway, and his white lawyer does the best that he can to save him and teach his kids that black people are not menaces to society. This book in present day would be considered very white saviory and just generally unneeded. But at the time that it was written, and to the audience that it's given nowadays, which is typically kids in middle school or early high school, it works because it's a light introduction in a way in which white audiences can accept, because there is a white savior. Do you see how they didn't just jump in head first with the Brooklyn Nine or the Little Rock Five? They gave it some time. Cuties doesn't give it any time. You've completely turned off anyone who didn't know about this, who needed to have who needed to have awareness raised to them. So again, who is this movie for? What are we doing here? There are only two messages in this movie that I see very clearly. And maybe I'm just not big-brained enough for this. I will accept that. If I miss the mark, I'll take it. But this is the mark that I've seen most people getting to. One is that Amy can pick her happy medium. You don't have to be the submissive secondary bride like your mother is, and you don't have to be the over-sexualized person like the girls in the music videos and the cuties. You can live in the middle. But that, to me, is not represented through the sexual imagery in the movie. It is represented through the clothing and the hairstyling. When Ami is with her mother, and in the beginning of the film, she wears her hair in this raggedy bun. Sorry to call it raggedy, but it's not cute. She wears her hair in this raggedy bun, and she wears loose-fitting t-shirts and loose-fitting jeans. When Ami is with the cuties, she wears her hair basically like this, and is in crop tops, spandex, tights, shorts, more provocative clothing. And when Ami finds her happy medium and is like, I'm just going to be who I want to be, she wears her hair like this, but goes back to the baggier clothing. So she's in the middle of the two extremes. Nowhere in there is any of the sexual dancing mentioned. So why is it in the film if it's not necessary for what I believe was the main message? The other theme that I felt was clearly visible, as we've already discussed, was Ami not feeling at home in her family, not respecting her mother, and really resenting her father for this new bride situation. That, again, has nothing to do with the sexualization of minors. So what are we getting at? What am I missing that was supposed to be expressed to me? And if I missed it, how did anyone else see it? I recently watched For Harriet's review, and I really respect For Harriet's opinions. She went to Harvard and is just generally very intelligent, and I like a lot of her videos. But I couldn't quite get with her opinions on Cuties. One of them that she gave was that this film is supposed to make you uncomfortable and that it is successful at that, therefore it is good. Why though? Why? Why am I uncomfortable? What purpose does the discomfort serve? Yes, as I said earlier, the scene on the stairwell while the girls are dancing provocatively makes me very uncomfortable. I felt very repulsed watching it. And many of the other scenes, it was cringeworthy, no one liked it. Even within the movie, the adults didn't like seeing what was going on, most of them at least, didn't like seeing what was going on. So why, though? Why am I uncomfortable? Yes, you've made me uncomfortable. You have succeeded at your goal of making me uncomfortable, but why did you do it? What was the point? Just to show that kids shouldn't be doing this? Kids being sexual is bad? I feel like that's common knowledge. That's pretty basic. I would assume most of us already know that. So what are you doing with it? What is the purpose of it? I don't see one. So why do it? Now, for the obvious issue with this movie, it's the same thing that everyone else is saying. It sexualizes minors, it exploits minors, and I don't like that. Now, Kim, that's For Harriet, by the way, Kim in her video said, basically put the sexualization of minors on the viewer at one point in the movie, which was contradictory to her own points earlier and just a very quick way of brushing over the issue. She basically pointed out how there were psychologists on film watching over the girls. The girls' parents gave them permission to do this. The girls were just acting, and the film was approved by French child protection agencies, so all is well. And if you see the kids as sexual, that is because you're sexualizing them and not because of what they're doing. When you just made the discomfort argument, so no, that's what the film is doing, as you just told us, and as we can all very clearly see. The film is sexualizing these girls, and although their characters are 11, the actual actresses are 13. I know that one of them is 13. I don't know about the others, but they're around that age. These are actual children. These are actual little girls being made to do these things. And it's nice that there are psychologists on set. It's nice that these girls are just acting. And let's just, okay, so there is the issue of how does this affect the girls mentally? Does it give them bad ideas? Does it make them think of the world differently? Does it make them want to repeat some of Ami's decisions? But does it? Let's just assume that the psychologist on set handled all of that and that all of these girls left the film sexually educated and, you know, untraumatized. Let's assume that, even though we don't know that, let's assume it for the sake of this video. There's still the part where these are 13-year-old girls in very sexual situations, and their sexual situations are now on the internet. They have been largely critiqued by American audiences. So now the girls have to deal with that existing. And pedophiles exist. I know that your movie was not made for them, but they are out there, and you have now given them this ammunition.
So I don't know who it was, I'm sorry, but there is a man, a white man, who reviewed this movie, and in his review of this movie, he brought up how certain points of the movie make him uncomfortable, and specifically his way of describing it was to say, you're watching this and you're thinking, oh no, they're young kids, I'm not supposed to sexualize them, but look at the blonde one, isn't she hot? That's what he said. That was his takeaway from the movie, and I know that that is not inherently the director's fault, but, like, it kind of is, because you put these girls in this situation, and you let anybody who wanted to see them, and even YouTubers are coming to those kinds of conclusions and putting that on the internet like that's an okay thing to say.
That's not okay to me. Yes, on Twitter, the scenes of the film are taken out of context. You just see the girls being sexy, and it's just like, why is this in a movie? That's gross. I don't like it. But now that I've seen the movie, I'm here to say no amount of contexts makes the exploitation of minors okay. I don't care that it serves a purpose in the movie. I don't care. It shouldn't be a thing. There are two easy fixes to this situation. Number one is to not show this so explicitly. And like I was saying earlier a little bit, I don't fully like this idea because it removes the discomfort element. If you don't actually see it, you don't get the cringy feeling. You don't, like, it takes away some of the impact. So option number two is to just cast actresses who are older but look younger, so that you can still suspend your disbelief to believe that these girls are 11, and you can still get that same discomfort. But actual children aren't put into this position. D'Angelo Wallace brings up in his film how the movie Precious features a minor in the context of the movie, but the actual actress is a full-grown adult. And that's perfectly fine. We do that all the time. Why wouldn't that be used, especially now? I don't love it because it doesn't give these 13-year-olds their time to shine. And like I said, they're great actresses and they deserve a movie that shows off their talents. But why did it have to be this one? Why did it have to be in this way? Why couldn't we zoom out just a little more? Why are we like directly in their ass cheeks? Why couldn't there be some conveniently placed plants? Why did we have to do this to these little girls? My issue is not the fact that it exists in the movie. That's a lot of people's issue, just the fact that they had to look at it. That's not my problem. My problem is the fact that actual children had to do this. And I get that a lot of people signed off on it. I get that their parents signed off on it. I get that the director signed off on it. I get that the French Child Protection Agency, or whichever one it is, I don't know the name of which one it was. I get that they signed off on it. I get that. I get that. But pedophiles still exist. They're still out there, and you've given them ammunition. That's just fact, and I don't know what else to tell you. And I don't like that. I don't support that, and I feel like there are ways around that could have still made this a good and effective film. If this film was just meant to be about Ami rebelling, she does not have to rebel by being sexual. And if, as I'm assuming, the film is more so about the sexualization of minors and what sexuality becomes in a minor's mind, it doesn't have to be so clearly depicted, especially if so many people who relate to this film already have a clear idea of this concept. It doesn't have to be shown this way. It doesn't have to be shown this much. It doesn't have to be shown for this long. It doesn't have to be shown this so close. And it doesn't have to be shown by actual children. That's my take on the film. I'm sorry you don't get the same discomfort, you don't get the same impact if you don't have actual kids doing it, but I feel like that's worth it to me. That is worth it to me. Because even with the psychologists on set, who's to say how this film will affect these girls later when there is no psychologist on set? Who's to say how the internet tearing this film apart is affecting them when there's no psychologist on set? Who's to say that this film didn't give any of them any ideas? And my final point is, even though my issue with this film is the sexualization of minors, I don't know if all of you are keeping the same energy on that issue. I kind of have to ask myself, why is this film with a black director and a black main character being taken under such scrutiny? When we have kids doing this all the time and no one cares. Y'all remember TikTok, that app that you have been begging the government to let you keep? Most of the people on TikTok are minors, just to report to you. So all of those kids out there doing the savage dance and the WAP dance and wearing bikini, like all of these kids are kids. They're still kids. We have Danielle Cohn, who is critiqued pretty frequently on YouTube by commentary channels about the kind of content that she puts out there. But yet she is still successful. There are plenty of people who follow her, and plenty of people who, through the years of her growing up, have not had an issue with this underage girl sexualizing herself in her videos. Aside from TikTok, there is dance moms, and just dance, gymnastics, cheerleading, etc. in general that dresses children up this way. For example, with the initial Cuties poster, my issue wasn't the clothing, my issue was the posing and the fact that you could kind of see one of the girls' butts. That was my problem. But a lot of people had issue with the clothing, to which I say, keep the same energy, babe. Where was your issue when we were watching Dance Moms and Maddie was rolling around in basically a dance bikini? Where was your issue when your little cousin was going off to cheerleading in a skimpy skirt and a tiny little crop top? Where's the issue? Kids dress like this all the time. Like all the time. Younger than 11-year-old kids dress like this all the time, and I'm not seeing the same energy being going on. And do you guys remember the episode of Dance Moms towards the end? I think it was season 7, where the older girls wanted to do a more sexual dance, and some of the moms were opposed to it, but some of the moms were into it. And so some of the moms went against Abby and did this dance where the girls were basically strippers. Like, they had chairs, they were in heels and tights, and they were dancing like strippers. Some of the moms were into it and let the girls do it and be like sexually liberated and show that they were adults now, where some of the moms weren't into it, and it was kind of the debate of the episode. Why wasn't that episode like pulled from TV? Why weren't the FBI knocking on anybody's door for that episode? Because those were still minors doing arguably more sexual things. Like, keep the same energy. That's all I'm saying, really. That episode of Dance Moms made me uncomfortable because I'm like, y'all are little girls. Y'all little girls rocking around in heels, tossing chairs around. I don't understand, like, why this is okay. But it was kind of a thing that I had to brush under my mental rug, because what am I to do about this? The episode is already out there. It's been out there for years. I only watched it recently on Hulu. That's why I even still remember it. Like, what am I going to do about this, really? So keep the same energy. If you have an issue with Cutie, you have an issue with Dance Moms. You have an issue with toddlers and tiaras. You have an issue with the outfits you had to wear to your gymnastics class when you were 10. You have issues with all of this. Because it's all out there. It's been out there the whole time. Cuties didn't just make this up and pull it out of thin air. We've been doing this for ages. So keep the same energy. Okay, let's not just attack black creators. Let's attack everybody. If this is a genuine issue, let's treat it like a genuine issue. So I guess that's it on my Cuties video. And I suppose my final opinion is that I feel torn. I do not like and do not want to support the sexualization of these girls. They are children at the end of the day. pedophiles are still out there at the end of the day, and we have no idea how this being created is going to affect them in the future at the end of the day. It's nice that there were psychologists on set. It's nice that this film was approved. It's nice that they tried to take some liberties and get ahead of the issue and make sure that everything was going to be kosher. I appreciate that they did that, but I still take issue with it, and I still feel like these girls should not have been depicted this way, and that we as an audience should not have been able to watch it. However, I do recognize that the discomfort for some people plays a purpose. I feel like it is not obvious enough to play a big enough purpose to raise awareness to anything or start a movement about anything or change anything. I don't feel like it is clear enough to hit enough people for as in your face as it is. You know, if you're gonna step lightly and, you know, tuck people's toes in, you don't have to be as obvious. You don't have to have Boo Radley or the little girl, whatever her name is, turn to the camera and be like, you see, that's why you shouldn't, falsely accuse black people of things, and we should treat all people as equals, and black people are great. You don't have to be as obvious as that when the movie is just you dipping your toes in. But when you're jumping in head first, you maybe don't have to have the characters turn to the camera and tell you, but what you're trying to do needs to be clear. I don't know what I'm supposed to do differently after seeing this movie. From watching the movie, I got that Ami figured out her middle ground. And I got that maybe some kids could watch this movie and find their own middle ground. But I don't know if finding the middle ground of Ami just going outside and jump roping, I don't know if kids could connect those dots. If all kids could get to where I got as an adult. I don't know if they could get there. So who is the movie for? And what are you trying to tell that audience? Why are you making that audience uncomfortable? I feel like that question is not really addressed with this film, and that is what makes me get to a point where I feel like the way that these girls are depicted is not okay, and where I feel like even though some adults approved it and you tried to help a little bit, I still feel like it's a thing that shouldn't have been done. There we go. That's it. Those are my opinions on Cuties. I could go on talking about it probably for ages, but I need to do my homework, and I'm satisfied with where this video has gone. So, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you all next time. And please go down in the comments below and let me know some of your opinions about Cuties, because I would just really like to continue my personal discussion of this film, because it kind of perplexes me. I'm kind of like in the middle of the road with it, and I would like to have a more concrete decision under my belt. So thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you don't all, dislike it and unsubscribe from me, because I wasn't abhorrently rejecting every single aspect of the film. But to those of you who actually like this film and see some value in it, I hope you can also see the value in the discussion that these kids should not have been forced to do this. They should not have been depicted this way. And that, although it was approved by adults, that doesn't automatically make it okay, because look at some of the shit adults have approved in history. So with all that being said, I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. I will see you all next time, and until then, oh shoot, I haven't filmed in a while. I forgot. You need to click my links. You need to click my links. They're not going anywhere. You may as well. Get to clickety clacking, babe. I don't know what's taking so long. Okay. Most of you are gone now. You've clicked my links. Thank you so much. If you haven't clicked them, what's wrong with you? Alright, I'll see you guys later. Bye.